Okay, so I'm gonna hit record because all this might be relevant, and then I'll also write down the time when we jump to like a certain point or whatever. But yeah, so tell me, share really fast a little bit more about your book. Just anyone who's watching this in the future will have sort of like an awareness of it, and then what you've already found.
All right, so my book is called Super Intense Man, and it is about how using emotional intensity can totally be a superpower. I think so much of society tells us like feeling anything less than neutral is a negative thing. And this book is about how we can use those emotions to fuel us and that they're not bad at all. No emotion's bad. So it's like a combination of storytelling. I was diagnosed with bipolar type 1 in my early 20s. So I've had the title of clinically insane on my, like, if anyone looks at my medical records, it's impacted my whole life. And I just feel like there needs to be more people sharing their experience about how actually, even though every medical professional that I ever spoke to was like, you need to be medicated, you should be medicated for life, and that's all there is to it. And not that this is anti-medication, it's just like, be true to who you are and what you want to do. And I've discovered how to live with my emotional intensity, really feeling like it's a superpower. And so this book kind of shares some comedic stories from my life mixed with tips and tools of how to use your emotional intensity as a strength. So like my target audience, ideally, it's obviously for all ages because there's plenty of adults who struggle with feeling intense, but like don't know what to do with it and maybe aren't doing anything about it. But I really want to help young people who are going through, like, what do I do with feeling so intense all the time? And so my target demo is definitely both ages. And I noticed that Amazon has like, if you choose young adult, then you have to have certain keywords. And I don't know if that means that like I have to be qualified in any certain way. Okay.
No, you're
okay.
good. You're good.
So I want to choose both like for young adult and just general.
Totally can.
Okay, cool. And then what I found, unfortunately, so I screenshotted the categories, but not the names of the books. And right before this call, I hopped online to try to find them and I couldn't.
But well, part of what we'll talk about in the training too is like, because I've even done that myself where I've done certain research. And then when the book is live, I'm like, wait, where was that category? So if you keep it straight from the beginning, and then a week or two later, or a month later, whenever you go, I like to do research close to when I'm in a launch because they can change day to day, just depending on who's going live, then it's easy to keep track of where your ranking is in those categories. So yeah.
Yeah, I will take any tips on how to be more organized.
Good. I've got something for you. Do you have, do you want to share your screen for screenshots or anything?
Yeah. Okay.
I'll jot down some notes on what we can do for the third stage.
So
okay, cool.
Whatever this person was, because I didn't think to screenshot the book.
Right.
They are total 46, but they're number 1 in teen adult inspirational and personal growth.
That's amazing.
Yay!
I adore that category. That's perfect. Because what I'm going to teach too, as we go on, is we want to look for an overall rank of 20,000 or higher. And so you have 46,000. That's amazing. So basically, in order for you to beat this person in this specific category, it would be as few as maybe even 10 to 15 sales in your concentrated launch time. Like that's how fast it can happen because this category is not super competitive.
That's amazing. So I'm doing a launch party. Yes, that Allie was talking about. So I have like a good amount of people committed for 2 p.m. on my launch date.
Nice.
And then some people were asking like, well, if I'm busy at 2, because I know it's like that hour is really important. Is it still helpful? Obviously every sale is helpful for the algorithms, but
yes. Think of it almost as like, you're going to go launching the whole day. So all the sales in that day count. Okay. So what I usually do is, and I recommend too, is like, don't necessarily wake up super crazy early. You don't have to. So like, I get up, let's say 7 or 8 Pacific, then I get a coffee and that's when I would start my official launch. And I would just start sharing it and promoting it and go. So you don't have to wait till 2 p.m. to start asking other people. So I would start building up the sales, building up the momentum, and you very likely may even hit number one before 2 p.m. For sure in this category you would. But then what we can actually pick up to 10 Kindle categories. And as you'll see when we do the research, some are going to be more competitive than others because not all of them are going to be 46,000 overall. And there might be some that you're like, you know what, even though that one's kind of hard, it would mean a lot to me if I got placed in there. And those will require more sales. So it's kind of like as the day progresses, you'll hit number one in more and more categories. But you can do up to 10 Kindle ones, and then you can even do their parent categories above that. So really, I would say I love the idea of the 2 p.m. thing, but you can start before that and just think about you're going to push all day long. It's like a launch day.
Okay, great. So I was thinking I had to have a certain number within 1 hour.
I mean, they update every hour, and there's even a little bit of a drag. So sometimes people freak out too, where they're like, I'm showing I have 20 sales in this, and then I'm in the really low category, but I haven't moved, and it just hit another hour or whatever, and you're like freaking out.
Right.
It has a little delay sometimes, and then all of a sudden it'll just be shoop, and there you are where you are. So it's not like we're not only going for 1 hour, and it's not going to like on the hour exactly update necessarily, but they do refresh their information every hour-ish. And you're going to, like in a category like this, you're going to hit number one. If you start promoting, let's say like 9 a.m. Pacific or whatever, you're going to hit number one in this category after you get 10, 15 sales. And let's say even maybe 20 sales because like the delay or whatever. So you'll probably hit number one by 11 or noon or whatever. And if you keep on getting more sales after 2 p.m., that number one spot is going to stay there. And then maybe you'll get number one at the category above it, the parent category above it. And then maybe it'll hold you so long that you'll be number one still tomorrow. So it's not like you're going to get number one and it's going to disappear an hour later necessarily. If you keep the momentum going, it's going to stay and grow.
So cool. Okay. Yeah. That answers a lot of my questions already. Cool. Thank you.
I know. It's like, if you've never seen it before, you're like, I can't even visualize it. So.
I was like, I need to have one good hour.
Right. Yeah. So it's like, I say the 1 hour rule, but that doesn't mean like really it's only 1 hour and then you're lost. So like it builds and it has a little lag and stuff, but we're going to go for that launch day. And the more you promote and the more you push, the more you're going to hit number one in more categories.
Okay. Beautiful.
Yeah. And you do want to get screenshots when you see it. Cause once you stop promoting and someone else is promoting, then you're going to start going down. So you want to get screenshots as you go throughout the day.
Right. Good point. So this one's way too big then. Miracles and Spirituality. So, this book is sneakily spiritual.
Cool. Yeah. So 8,000, that is not the most difficult in the world, but that would be one that I would say might be kind of like a stretch one, because that one, let me do a quick estimate. That one you could probably hit number one if you have more like 50 to 60 sales. So It's still possible, but also, as I like to tell everybody, you tend to get fewer sales than you anticipate, because people are like, oh yeah, I got you. And then like the day of, they disappear and they're busy and they forget and like, oh, I didn't know what button to click and like dumb stuff. So we want to stack the odds in our favor and not go for all categories that are low like that. But that next one, that one looks good too.
And this obviously not environmental and natural resource law, but the health and spirituality.
Okay. So what I would do for that one is we would go in and find health and spirituality and look at the book that is number one to see the rank. And then it's most likely in like the 20,000s or maybe the teens. So it might still be really viable, but we want to only compare apples to apples. So only the books that are number one.
Right. That makes sense. Again, this one's too high then.
Yeah, that's kind of like
7,000.
Yeah.
And then I think there was one other. 25,000-ish. Teen and young adult, mind, spirit, and body.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a good one. So yeah, you're already on target. Like literally, even if you picked all the ones that you have right there, you're going to hit number one in at least two categories with 20 to 25, 30 sales in your launch day. So like you're on track. Yeah.
Oh, yay.
I love it. So yeah. And what I can show you is just to dive in even more.
Yeah. Want me to hit stop share?
Sure. Okay, cool. Okay. So what I thought I would share is, so I just did a private client work where her book was already done. She didn't want to jump into the accelerator course. She didn't want to like watch any videos. She was just like, let me pay you and you do it for me. Like you find the categories, you interface with tech support, because we can get on the phone, we can send them a message to tech support, and we can get them exactly in the categories we want. And they'll help troubleshoot if anything is a little bit funky. So I did that on her behalf. And then on the day of, I also was like refreshing every hour and taking screenshots, and I was kind of keeping track of what she hit as well. So what I thought I would do is just kind of share this whole spreadsheet, which looks like maybe a little overwhelming, explain it all, and then we can kind of just break it down and work backwards. And I'll also kind of clear it out. I'll make a copy and clear it out so that you could even use it. I'll share the spreadsheet and then you could use it if you want to keep track of your research using the same approach.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. So what I did with my research is I did category or columns B, C, D, and E. And that's what we'll talk about more in depth. So I found the category where a book is number one. And then I actually linked out to it, because this is how it'll be easier to keep track of it. So this is the category where the book is number one, and this is the actual book that was number one. So you can see I did both this time, because part of Amazon's update recently is they don't make it quite as easy to keep track as they did in the past. So like past training videos, I didn't have to have as many of these columns, but now I just found this to be the most helpful. So this is what we'll keep on the one that we share inside the accelerator. We'll keep B, C, D, and E for sure. And then when she went live, I was like, oh, I can't keep this all straight in my head. I need to start tracking it. So as I would hit refresh and get screenshots, I would keep track of her best number in the categories. And I even started adding in parent categories in between. So these ones that aren't bold, we didn't ask Amazon to put us in there, but because she was doing so well in the subcategory, she started moving up in the ranks in the parent one. So I started keeping track of that as well. So she hit number one in 11 categories. Oops.
Wow.
In the US, and she hit number one new release in 14 categories.
Wow.
And then in Mexico, she hit number one in 2 categories, and then also number 2. So I kind of started keeping track of
that's amazing.
the other countries over here on the side. And then you mentioned keywords. So there were a couple that had a keyword requirement, which is actually really funny, because I requested her to be put in the 10 bold categories over here before we had a chance to update the keywords. And they still put us in there because we requested it directly from Kindle. So there's totally ways to fix it. You can either add the keyword, you can add the keyword if they insist, or you just like call them and they just put you in. I don't know. It's not as scary as you might think.
Right. That's good.
Yeah. Okay. So that's kind of an overview. It's the colors. So I made these colors to help her and guide her as well. So when I did the research, I was like, anything over 20,000, we love it. That's why those are green. Anything that is like between 10 to 20,000, I put in yellow. So it's still totally reasonable. You're just going to need a bit more sales. And then things like kind of 5,000 to 10,000, I put in orange. Like it's possible, but it's harder. And then the stuff in red is like, just, I personally wouldn't really even bother. So like down here, this like memoir, she was going up
wow.
Michelle Obama and like, and like these huge ones. Like if a book is number 39 overall in all of Kindle, you're famous already. Like, forget it. That's crazy. Okay. So I think I'm going to make a copy of this in case people just want to see it unfixed up. And then I'm going to do like, So I'm going to leave this one in case people just want to look at it. But then this one, I'm going to just kind of clean it up because it's a little overwhelming, I think. So maybe I'll take off these other countries here and then we'll kind of break it down backwards. So you can see exactly how I did the research.
This is so helpful though.
Cool. Yeah, I'm a nerd for spreadsheets because I can't keep stuff straight in my head. Like,
I was just going to say that. I love spreadsheets so much. And not only can I not keep things straight in my head, but like physically organizing, I can't, but spreadsheets I can. It's they're my favorite.
I agree. Okay, so I'm just going to delete these little parent categories because I added those as I went. So I would say, like, for anyone doing this research, don't bother adding the parent categories unless you are ranking in them, because otherwise it's just more work. So
right.
don't stress about that. Yeah, and actually what I did too on this left-hand column with the little check boxes, why don't these open? What I did is, so I did the research for her book, but I didn't read her book all the way through. So I didn't know 100% if some things would really work. So I did the research for her and then we jumped on the phone and I was like, okay, does this make sense? And we checkboxed the ones that she liked the most. And then I went ahead and put those in. So that's what this little checkbox stuff is for. So that's the only meaning behind that.
Right.
And let's see. So here's 2 more parent categories. I'll get rid of those. Yeah.
This is really helpful because some of this stuff is similar to my categories too.
Yeah. That's good. And that's why I also didn't want it, because I might kind of delete stuff as we go. So I wanted to leave it preserved in case you or anyone else wanted to see what it looks like. Yeah. Okay, I'll just see no more parent categories. Yeah. So when I did the custom research for her, I found all these. So this can take hours. So like set aside some hours. It's annoying, but it's so worth it. I cannot tell you how many people just put their book up in the categories in Kindle and then they go live and they don't even get close to hitting #1 because they're just, Kindle just automatically puts them in these crazy competitive categories. But if you put in a couple hours, you can find stuff that is super relevant, but way less competitive. So yeah, so these bold ones are the ones we just decided to pick based on her feedback. That's the only meaning of that. I can just undo the bold. Okay. Okay, so let's talk about how to do it. Let me get rid of this thing. How do I make it small? There it goes. Okay. So I want to also show you really fast these other sites. Okay, so as a fast overview, when you go in to publish your book, you are going to actually only pick 2 categories inside of Kindle, and it's going to confuse you and stress you out. So let me show you what it looks like. So when in your Kindle book, on the first tab, it says Kindle ebook details or whatever. Sometimes it makes you log in again. I swear it's me. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. So in this first tab, Kindle ebook details, you'll scroll down and you will see, this is where you can put the keywords and here are the categories.
Okay.
So this is where you're going to set the categories. Now, you can only pick up to 2 inside of Kindle. And the 2 that you pick, you will be confused because they will not match perfectly what you find in your research. So just going into that, no, you're not crazy. Don't get overwhelmed. There's a workaround for that. So, and in a way, it gives us an advantage because we know this and people don't. You know what I mean? So you can just pick 2 random categories that are as close as you can to what you did in your research, but don't stress. Because what we're going to do is very simply and easily send a message to tech support and tell them the exact 10 that we want. And they will put it in usually it's within 24 hours.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Or you can get on the phone and you can tell them directly too. So that's just like a quick overview. You're going to only be able to pick 2 in here. They're not going to match perfectly. You're going to feel stressed out. And then to make it even more confusing, on your actual books page, they put you in 3 on your product page max. Here, I'll show you my book. Permission. So at any one time, they're only showing you in your 3 top categories on your book's product page. So when you scroll down here, under product details, you'll see that you're only placed in up to 3. But that's deceiving. You can actually be placed in up to 10 Kindle categories and up to 10 book categories. So we're going to talk about how to find those 10 Kindle categories specifically.
That was my next question. Perfect.
Yeah. And you can do both. It's funny because just this past time when I was on tech support for this client, I got her in the 10 Kindle categories, and the guy was like, oh, do you want me to also put them in 10 book categories? I was like, oh, didn't actually realize you could do that for a Kindle. And so I've never actually tested that part up to this point. So what I'm going to teach right now is the 10 Kindle categories. You get in all those 10, plus you can hit number 1 in their parents. So you can hit like number 1 bestseller in like 15 categories or something like easily if you have really non-competitive ones. But it's worth a try if you want to do the research on the book ones too. And maybe in a future video, I'll have tested that.
Yeah. When you did the one where they asked you that, did you say yes?
No, I said no, because it was like the day of the launch, and she was already more than happy. Like, everything was already fine. I was like, and I mean, it takes hours to go through this stuff. So I was like, I don't want to spend another 3 or 4 hours to find them, call tech support. And it was already, and I mean, she hit number 1 in 11 categories. She's above, beyond the moon. She's totally happy. So yeah. So right now my book is horrible because I don't promote it at all. So it's like 1 million overall. But yeah, so my book would not be one that we would compare to check out those categories. But like podcasts and webcasts is a category that I always talk about, that I hit number 1 with both of my books, because I talk a lot about podcasting in my books. So what I would do is go over there, see what book is number 1 right now, find its data. I'll do that really fast. It's just a quick example. So here they have a little flag. Now this number 1 bestseller flag, you won't get it immediately, and not every client gets it. You will get number 1 hot new release pretty fast. That flag comes quickly. So make sure you can get a screenshot of it because it's cool. But you do need to have a good number of sales. I don't know the exact number. I don't think there is an exact number, but you need to kind of like go a little further than just hit number 1 in one category with like 10 sales kind of thing. Like you need to kind of hang there a little longer, and then you'll also tend to get that number 1 bestseller flag too. So right now, podcasts and webcasts, they're number 1 in there, and overall there's 6,140. So I would put them on the list like in the orange. So I would only pick this category if I were just like, I feel really strongly I want to rank in there. Even if I don't hit number 1, I just want to rank in there, then I would do it. Otherwise, I would just say, let me keep on researching. So the way that you research for number 1 is put aside some time and know that you're going to just dive in. So you can do a couple of different ways to start it. So you can just find a book that you think would be relevant. So you could just do like a search. So let's do one like that for yours. So let's say, like, I could search bipolar. Yeah. Because you could talk about that a lot and just see what are the other books going into there. So you can see some book categories right here. Let's see if they separate it for Kindle as well.
Did I see one that says humor?
Oh, this one.
Oh, humor and entertainment. Is that under mental health? Humor and entertainment, the category?
Oh, over here.
Is that under, or is that not a subcategory? Oh no, it's its own.
Oh, I see. Yeah. It's its own. And also this one says book. So that might be not Kindle one, but the book category ones. And we'll start with Kindle. So I'm going to ignore that for now. Let's check out this book and just see what it's doing. Okay. And here's another just random side tip. I don't like books personally that have a solid white background because they just blend in. Now, if you really insist on that, make sure to put a border. I would say put a little like black border on the image, or have your designer put a little border so it doesn't, because to me, I don't even see a book. I just see like a random note on the side. Okay, so scrolling down. So you can see these are 2 book categories and this one's a Kindle one. So let's click on mood disorders and start our research here. Okay, cool. So see now on the side, it says Kindle Store, Kindle eBooks. Now we know that we're in categories that are under Kindle, so we can just kind of keep all the like apples and apples together. So what I would do is right now we're in mood disorders underneath mental health, underneath counseling and psychology, etc. So let's open this book up in another window and see how it's ranking. Now, because it's got so many reviews, I'm a little bit nervous that this might be a competitive one. But you never know. And then also sometimes it auto selects like their paperback or audiobook. So just click on Kindle so you can see the way that it's ranking. And we'll scroll down. Okay, so it's number 1 in mood disorders and overall 4340. So we could add this to the list if we wanted. So I would just like come in and stick it up here. But this one is a little tough. So let's see. 43. So this would be one that I wouldn't personally pick unless I were just really, really excited about it. Now I'm going to click this URL and put this here for the book. So I can come back to that right away. And then you can also come back here and grab the URL of the category itself to keep track of. So I would say like mood disorders. And what I did is I then hit Control K on a Mac, and you can paste the link so that it hyperlinks out the words that you put to that category. Because once you go live on launch day, it might be a week later, and then this book, just having the link to the book is great, but the book itself might be showing different categories under its product details because those change. Because remember, you can be in more than 3, but they only show 3 at any time. So even within the day, the 3 that they show will change on your page too. So we don't want to rely only on the book if you want to really track how you're doing on the category too. So that's why I put that link there. And then let's see, how do I do these easily? I think I had to actually type these in manually.
So I'll have to go in the day of and click each link and just keep refreshing, see where I'm at. Okay.
Exactly. So once
just
you,
have 10 tabs open, no problem. I always have 100 open.
Exactly. Okay. So when you do your research, you might, come up with like 30 different things as you're just kind of playing with it. Then pick your top 10, send it to Kindle, get them placed in there. And then the day of, those 10, just keep hitting refresh on the category pages. And you can even take screenshots of your book as it's like moving up. And
how often is the minimum amount of times you would say to refresh in, like, say, an hour? Like, how often does movement happen that you want to make sure you don't miss refreshing?
I mean, it does happen around every hour. And then occasionally hour to hour, there's no change or there's no visible change to the numbers.
Okay. So it's not multiple times in an hour. I got to like every 15 minutes.
No, you really could like just set a timer for the hour or just, and actually, I don't even know, it doesn't even necessarily happen like on the hour at the hour. So it might be like 15 minutes after the hour. Okay. So you could even like at 1:30, 2:30, 3:30, you could kind of do it like that. Sometimes there'll be updates, sometimes not, but about once an hour is fine. So.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah. If you just set a time for once an hour, you'll be good. So yeah. Now, what I would do just to continue researching, because that one was cool, but kind of competitive. So I would start looking at, all right, what other subcategories under here would work for your book? Do any jump out? Bipolar.
Oh yeah, bipolar. And then a question would be too, like when you're choosing a subcategory, if your book touches on it only in like a chapter or even just a part of a chapter, but it's a good category, is that worth your time? I don't know.
I think it really comes down to a judgment on your part, because you want to be obviously respectful to like a reader. So if they don't know you and they find the book in that category and they open it, will they be disappointed?
Right.
Based on
Yeah. So the answer is no. We're not.
Well, not necessarily 100%, just because like you might go really in depth on it, one whole chapter on that topic, but it doesn't necessarily mean the whole book has to be about that to still give someone value in there. So I think it also comes down to what would you feel proud in having screenshots around. So like if your book is like business marketing, and then I always say underwater basket weaving is your category. Like that's not a category, but you know, let's say, or let's say like you're not at all religious, the book is not at all religious, but you find some like Christian spiritual category would be really easy and you put it in there. Like, would you be proud to take the screenshot and do that? If not, then just steer away. Because if you really put in the research, then you'll have plenty of options, you know.
So I would say the other two, or the maybe three in here, is bipolar, emotions, and then mental illness.
Okay. What about depression?
Sure.
Okay. And sometimes even too, in the beginning of your research, you might open all of them, because just looking at sometimes what those other books are using in their categories can give you more ideas of to what else to look at. But yeah, so this is the painful part of the research, is like, it is like just a rabbit hole. You just have to kind of go down, but it's definitely exciting when you find something good. Okay, so I'll open up this one. And no matter what, when I do the screen share, it takes forever for these darn things to open. So sorry for any delays.
Oh, interesting. I have a whole chapter about sleep.
Yeah, because the thing too with Amazon is like they have hundreds of categories, and they're always changing and adding and adjusting too. So just got to put in a little bit of the work. And that, on that note too, then I would also recommend with people to do the research for your categories. I would say, so a part of my timing strategy with the track formula is you want to get your book uploaded and published on Amazon the week before your launch, because it can take up to 72 hours for them to even approve your book. So if you make your book live on the launch day and Amazon's just behind the stuff and it takes 72 hours, you might be super embarrassed because your book's not even there and you're telling people to go buy it. So it's smart to, let's do it like the week before, because then we can get one sale. You have to have one sale to start showing categories. We can talk to tech support, get them in the 10 categories we want, just kind of do final checks, make sure everything's good. So doing your research for your categories, I would say you could do it like the day of, you know, you really want to go live. If you're just like, I'm going to set up this whole day, I'm just going to dive into categories, or maybe like another week in advance up to that. But it wouldn't make sense to do your research 3 months in advance of your launch.
Right. Okay. Yeah, my goal is I'm uploading next Monday, so this is good timing.
Yeah.
I launch on June 2nd.
Yeah. So this is good for you because we're May 15th. Yeah. So you're like just over 2 weeks out. Yeah. And you can always as well, kind of like a few days before, the weekend before, just do like a final check and see if anything's crazy out of whack, and you could
good idea
change it. But and you know, and sometimes too, the day of your launch, someone else randomly does a big push and you can't control that. But we're putting you in 10 categories, so like you're gonna hit some number one in something if you're you know, finding good categories. So it's not the end of the world. All right, let's see what's actually processed here. Us to check. Okay, let's see. This one.
Ooh.
Yeah, so emotions and mental health, 2,400. For this one, I wouldn't even put it on the spreadsheet because it's just too hard. So I'd say, okay, bye-bye. Oh, how did I open this one twice? Or is it, I don't know. Okay, let's see. This one. Does have a lot of reviews. Uh-oh. Yeah, so this one, all three of these categories, no.
Wow.
It's too hard. But don't despair, because we're just looking at one set of subcategories in one thing. So there's
Right.
lots of other options. But okay, this one's looking a little better because there's only 12 reviews.
Okay.
That makes me feel a little more, okay, no. Still a little too hard there.
That's wild though that they have 12 reviews.
Yeah, and they might, let's see, when did they launch it? Because they might just be in the middle of like a big push. They might just have launched it and just been doing
Yep, May 15th,
or
2019, or May 7th. I saw it.
Yeah, so they might have like made it live on May 7th, and now they're pushing it right now. So it's
Right.
just
That
doing
makes
really
sense.
well.
Well,
So it could even be something to look at in 2 weeks. Maybe it kind of calms down, but for now, I would be like, nah.
yeah.
That one's too hard. Okay, so let's just say you're like, nope, on none of these are going to work. Now what we can do is go back up to, no, that one, back up to run above it. So now we can go back up to counseling and psychology, because what we've just done is we've looked really in depth right here in mental health, but look at all these other ones we can dig into now.
Right.
So we can look at adolescent psychology, applied psychology, child development psychology, clinical, like there's a lot of things in here.
Wow, yeah. Personality would probably be good.
Okay, yeah, let's pick one. Personality. Social psychology. There's like a ton in here. So this is where
yeah.
the time comes in, where you just got to put in the time and click around. But you start to get faster because you start to get the hang of it. And then also you'll start to recognize books that you've seen number one somewhere else and you're like, oh, that one's out.
Right, right.
Okay, so under adolescent. Okay, so when I click adolescent, it didn't give me another set of subs, and that's okay. Some do and some don't. So we'll just take a look at this book. So there aren't like subs of adolescent, but there were subs of mental health, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Here. I want to find like another good one live while we're on this call. Can't just have a bunch of hard duds. Oh, this one's not as bad, but still
right.
kind of tough. So, I mean, it could be one like if you're just really in love with it and you want to do it. You know, it's kind of in the low of the orange. If you're just like, oh, I just really want to be in that one. Otherwise, I would skip it. We can find better ones. Okay, so this one is psychology of personalities. Let's see. And it does not have any subcategories.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, and honestly, psychology ones do tend to be pretty popular because a lot of people are looking for self-help and stuff.
Right,
so
that makes sense.
Those ones can be tough. But maybe we should go look at the young adult ones because, and actually, we can even look at Nadine and see if there's anything we could kick off from. So, for example,
philosophy.
Which one?
Teen and young adult philosophy, but that's in a later one. Never mind, that's 18,000.
But we could see how it's ranking right now. So let me see. Let me copy and link location.
Fun fact, I really wanted to major in philosophy in college, and my dad was like, I'm not going to help you keep paying for school if you major in that.
It's funny. No, I started as an English major, which is funny now as I'm helping people write books.
Right? That worked out well.
Yeah. And I switched to psychology because I just fell in love with it. Okay, so I pulled up that category and then I clicked on the book that's number one. Let's see how it's doing right now because it might be better or more difficult. We'll see. All
right.
Interesting. So it was 18,000 before, but now it's 32,000. So that one is definitely a contender. Okay, so let me update this spreadsheet.
While we're looking at this, can I ask a question slightly unrelated? In the print length where it says 64 pages, I've uploaded my I heard your podcast about using Scrivener or something. I actually did use Google Docs too. I think that they fixed some stuff because it worked fine. The only thing is when I pull it up, it says the number of pages is like 800 something, and there's no way it's 800 pages. How does Amazon end up putting that print length if I'm not also doing it as a print book?
Yeah, I think they just have kind of like an estimate. They probably have some standard, let's say like 6x9 standard format with an average of 250 words on a page. And they just like make it a standardized estimate until you actually publish it. And then they would change that. Yeah. Yeah, that's weird where did it say 800 in Kindle?
Yeah, maybe before the call-ins, I'll show you.
Yeah.
It's really weird. Yeah, it says like 874 pages, and it's in the e-reader screen and in the phone screen and in the Kindle screen.
That's weird. Yeah, because I could see it would be 800 pages in Kindle, but not like if it were comparable to print. So, all right. So this one we can actually, at least on the spreadsheet, if we were working from the spreadsheet, we can move him on up. Because now,
right,
it is not as competitive as I thought. Oh, I didn't like my cut and paste. So now, and if this is one you really like, I would just like bold it and be like, okay, cool, we're going for that one. That's a good one. Ooh, while I'm thinking about it, for teen and young adult, here's the other thing you have to do in Kindle to make yourself eligible. Did we get rid of my Kindle page?
Ooh.
It's super easy, but it's just a little caveat.
Okay.
So inside of your Kindle ebook details, sorry, what is happening? My computer's not happy with me. All you have to do is pick an age range. So by default, there's no age range selected when you upload a book. It's like they just assume it's for adults or whatever. But you can select an age range. And so you would just put the book, I'll show you. You would just place like the age range from like 13 to 18 and above or whatever. And then that will also make you eligible to be in the young adult categories. So on this front page, if you just scroll all the way down, it says age range, age and grade range. It is optional. So if people are watching this and their book doesn't apply to younger adults or teens, then just ignore this. You don't have to do anything. But you can say like, okay, 13 to 18 plus.
Now, does it mess me up with saying teen and juvenile? If like really, I don't want someone under 6, like whatever, teens under 16 could read it, but I feel like it's more applicable 16 up. Does that affect the teen and juvenile rating?
I haven't seen anywhere where it's like, I just say 13 because I feel like they're like relatively able to handle that kind of stuff. I don't know if there's I haven't done a test where like someone picked 15 or 16 or 17 and then like it eliminated them from it. So I don't.
I can always just message them.
Yeah, that's true. Or when you get on the phone call with them. So for Nadine's book, hers was teen and young adult. And I just put 13 to 18 plus, and then it was eligible for him.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that could be a question and be like, do I need to put 13, 16? Does it have to be higher than a certain number in order to start qualifying or whatever? Yeah. But that is one little thing. Like if your categories for young adult aren't showing up, it might be because you didn't allow it to go lower than 18 as like a age range sort of thing.
Right.
Cool. So yeah, so really that's the nuts and bolts of it. Does that make sense? Questions on this?
No, this was amazing. Thank you so much. I love that spreadsheet.
Cool. Okay, good. Yeah. I'll put it inside of the accelerator too, so people can
Thank you.
mess with it. I'll make it like view only. So you just make a copy and then you can edit it and everything as well. Yeah. So then day of, like we said, is just keep track of those categories so you can kind of see where you're ranking and take screenshots. It's a little bit faster and easier than trying to remember where they all were. And at any
Right.
one time, your book is only going to be showing up in 3 categories on the product page. So that is annoying. You're like, I know I'm in more than 3. Let me show you. Just going to pick up a book. Yeah, so it shows in 3, but really it can be
Right.
up to 10 Kindle categories. Now, the
Oh,
other thing I'll
okay.
share really fast is around international or the day of. Continue without saving because I didn't do anything. So on the day of your launch, you'll also want to, so 2 things. On the reports tab, if you click on this, it will tell you the royalties that you have, and it'll break it down by country. So down here in royalties, if you scroll down, it'll break it down by country. So that can be a really easy way for you to keep track. So like, for example, okay, I've got some sales in .com, that's the US, and I've got some sales in Australia. So I would know on my launch day, if I had some money showing up in Australia, I'm going to be ranking in Australia.
Right.
But I won't be ranking anywhere else. My book will be there, but I won't have a rank under the product details. Because
That's a good point. So if I have friends in other countries, before I do my launch day, maybe ask them to buy it so that it shows up once I start ranking over here.
yeah, you could do it the day before if you want, or you could do it the day of, and then you can even just kind of, check the next morning if it's like weird with the time zones and stuff. But yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
right.
Yeah. So, and when you're live, from inside of your Kindle, if you scroll over the view on Amazon, this is a fast way to see your book in all the different countries' pages.
Oh, perfect.
So for example, I'll show you Australia versus, let me think, I don't think I've ever had a sale in Brazil. Let's just compare them. So this is like a fast way to keep track of your book in international spots without having to like Google and figure it out. Yeah, so see, I'm ranking in Australia because I have had one sale at some point. Not very good because I haven't done very many lately, but let's see, Brazil. I don't think I've ever had a sale in Brazil. Oh, I have. Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Okay. So I am ranked in Brazil. But if I had never had a sale, everything would look the same. It's just this information would be gone because there's no rank data unless you actually have had a sale. If that makes sense. But yeah, so that's a fast way to go and see all the different countries. So there's United States, United Kingdom, Germany, France, Spain, Italy, Netherlands, Japan, Brazil, Canada, Mexico, Australia, and India. And so for my record, as we record this, I think it's David DiGiorgio. He hit #1 in 8 countries, and then he hit #2 in 2 more. So he got top 2 in 10 countries. That's the record so far.
Wow, that's amazing.
But he really did like preparation and like a launch plan and a launch team and stuff. So
Right.
yeah, but even
That's awesome.
if you don't want to go to all that trouble, you can definitely hit #1 in the United States in multiple categories if you put in the time to do the research and get some of those good green ones.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Good. Any other questions on categories? Otherwise, we will stop the screen share and then you can ask me anything else too.
Thank you. This is perfect.
Good. All right, let me hit